All right, all right. Welcome back. Welcome back to Unlicensed, where we talk that talk without being credentialed. Because Dr. Shine Bryant showed us. Well, Shine Bryant, she showed us the way. She showed us it's all right. You could just be intuitive as much as you want, and that should be enough. But in all seriousness, we're here to just create a space where men can talk about their mental health, and perhaps most importantly, whenever people start saying, well, what do you do? What do you give back? How do you create spaces where people can actually talk and get better? Yes, we do. Right here it is. Outside of the normal content that we do, we want to create avenues for improvement. That is always going to be the heart of it, the name of the game. We want to see everyone doing better. And sometimes that means kind of coming online to strangers and bearing a bit of your soul, right? But if it helps someone and it shows an example, then that's what it's here for. That is sometimes what men need to see. It's what I do with my group of guys, my group of friends, especially my brother, my family. So there's times when I'm not feeling up to par, and I had to learn how to be completely open about that, right? Instead of it just kind of keeping it and bottling it in. And then, over time, eventually what happens is you lash out, and we want to prevent that. So if you're new here, subscribe to the channel. Hit that like button, right? This is the best way for you to help me help the algorithm notice the channel and notice that, hey, we're doing something good, right? And I know how the algorithm is. I know how YouTube is. I know how online social media is. And sometimes people don't want something serious. People don't want something helpful. They kind of just want to be entertained. And if that is for you, we got subscriber Sundays for that, right? But for now, we're gonna have a conversation. And as usual, if we get derailed by something happening in the chat, we're more than happy to talk about what you got going on. That is the purpose of it. My style of doing these live streams, I don't like the dead air. I don't like the dead air. So I'm usually going to be trying to fill it in and talk about something. Sometimes on brand, sometimes on topic, sometimes not. Sometimes we release a little bit of lore about who we are, how we got here, what's important to us, blah, 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 blah. But one of the best ways I believe for men to sort of lead is by going first. Like at work, sometimes I tell someone, veterans go first. If you have the assignment and everyone's looking at each other, say, well, I kind of don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to touch it. I don't want to touch it. I'm always the first, like, veterans go first. Show the way. And then that way, whenever you have an issue or you want someone you ask someone to do something that you've done, there's very little doubt. There's very little reason that they say, well, why should I do that? You've never done it. So in terms of mental health, sometimes we reveal some of the stories, some of the things we struggle with ourselves. That way, someone else can be like, yeah, that's kind of the way. And you find out most of the things that you are stressing over doing, or you feel as if it might be too grievous, it might be too tough, too much of a hurdle. When you worry about things, when you look in the future and you worry about those things, 90% of those things never happen. So the activation energy you need to actually do something, it's actually smaller than you think. Do it first, do it quick, do it early, and then the rest of your day is yours, right? Then you can live, that you can chill, you can do whatever the hell you want to do. That's my point. That's why I'm looking at it. Again, shout out to you guys in the chat. If you are in here, jump in the chat. Hey, jump in the chat. So I know it's real. How you guys doing? Again, thank you guys for always being the first and foremost in here. Yeah, it's for anyone that's ever run a live stream or talked to a crowd, or like your professors and your teachers when you were younger. Do you know what it's like when no one is raising their hand? When you're sitting in front of the classroom and no one is saying anything, and you just like, oh, okay. I was always a student that would throw the professor a bone, like, let me help you, right? You want the audience participation, so let me help you along. Let me do what I can. And eventually over time, people warm up, people get over their little fright, and they start talking. They say what they want. But for you guys that have nothing good to say, you guys just don't about it. For you guys that's just in the internet just to troll and be awful people, yeah, that's cool. We've got more than enough of those people crowding the internet spaces. But here today, listen, we're here to talk about masculinity, right? we're here to do it now. I want to call it a full-on audit, but I want to talk about a couple important things about masculinity, because the way it's presented today, it's usually at the deficit. It's usually at, say, I'm going to use this to tell you you're not a man. This is where you're falling short as a man. Therefore, don't worry, I have the method to get you back on track. I'm simply going to tell you what to do. You can hear it in the language as a real man would do. You can substitute man with, the N-word, right? Real niggas do this. And then because you want to adhere and be known as real, as part of that group, then you conform. Then you simply say, okay, let me do what that person's saying. And for the most part, it comes from people that, it can come from someone that is, trying to be a coach, trying to help you out, an older man trying to teach you and show you, or it can come from someone that, has never actually known their father, who is simply telling you to do something so you can benefit them. Yeah, a real man would pay for all our drinks. And here you are thinking, well, I want to be known as a real man, because otherwise, what is it? A question against your masculinity, is a question against your identity. Then you start backtracking. Well, I don't want to be known as that. So you do it. Now, if you can think about how easy, how simple that is for someone to get you out of pocket, so you to simply conform and do what they say you should do, you'd be afraid. You'd be frightened. You'd be like, this isn't a good idea. This isn't a good look. Personally, one of the things that, and maybe it started the first time I saw Dragon Ball Z, and as you got older, you started to appreciate Vegeta a lot more. And that Saiyan pride, I started saying, I want to be proud of who I am as a man. I want to be proud of that. And part of that is being able to make your own decisions. By own decisions, I don't mean that, hey, someone simply told you what to do, like you're at work. That's your boss. That's your supervisor. That's the supervisor. That's the franchise owner. No, being able to say, I did this because I wanted to. It started and it stopped with me, not because I'm going to do this and now this person will look favorably on me, but I never really wanted to do it. You think back to your own relationships, the times when you're with your significant other, men, I'm talking to you, maybe for men on the replay gang, but you go to your significant other and she says, hey, I know it's your day off, and I know you've worked just about all of 81 hours at work, came home, helped, participated. Now it's your official day off. I want to go to Home Goods. I want to go to Target. I want to go to Starbucks. We need to go to my friend Janine's house party. We need to make sure we pick out gifts for such and such event. Your day is mapped out. You don't want to do any of that. But you are used to doing things for other people so they could look upon you favorably, or at least you can keep the peace. We are taught, in the sense of what masculinity, how it was defined for us, that you put yourself on the back burner. You make sure everyone else around you is good. That's what being a man is. We took it, we adopted it, hook, line, and sinker. We didn't question it. We just said, okay, that makes sense. That's what a man's supposed to do. Now, you see it in small ways like that, and in larger ways, it's in terms of just simply sacrifice, right? You look at it, one of the most historic ones, the Titanic. Titanic's going down, and what happens? That the orchestra's still playing, right? Is there a more manly thing to do? Right. You let the women take, women and children on the life rafts. Absolutely. Right. This is how we look at masculinity. Like, that's what being a man is. Sacrifice is what you're supposed to do. You should be honored for that. Now, we had a different system in place. We had a different society in place where that looked and made sense. Today, not so much, right? We don't have that community. We don't have those bonds that keep us actually locked in place. We don't have covalent bonds. We don't have covalent bonds. We don't have ionic bonds, right? We're barely attracted to each other in a way to actually create some sort of, structure. So we're still trying to adhere to things of the past, but not all of the things in the past. And there's a very, very simple reason for this, that the way we looked at masculinity, it changed as society changed and they needed you online to do other things. Well, you had to change. And what's the best way for me to guide you and change that? I got to redefine this thing. I got to redefine what it actually means. So it's not one of those scenarios where it would be like a clean break. We took masculinity, took it out back, shot it in the head like Old Yeller. We put it down. It was done, finished. And then we said, okay, what are we going to do? We have to come up with something new. We can't use masculinity because we literally, we just put it down. Let's come up with something else. Let's use something else. No, we repackaged it, right? We came in there, we retooled a couple of things, and we said, okay, this is the best job we can do. We're changing, we're trying to change the engine on the side of the road. We're not going to really be able to, really do this. What we're going to do is slap some things together, and hopefully this thing actually turns out and actually works. Destroying it would have been clean. Destroying it would have said, okay, listen, from here going forward, this isn't a thing anymore. You don't have to adhere to it. Anything about this is gone. If anyone tries to reference this, let them know on this day, it was killed, it is dead, no longer applies. This is the new gold standard going forward. We just repackaged it. We kept the wording, right? Because we like the sound of masculinity, right? It sounds good, right? Hold on. It sounds good, so we kept it. But what did we change, right? Simple, follow along. Strength became aggression, right? We used to praise praise men for their strength. And then now we call it, well, you're being aggressive. Now this is a detriment. This is painful. This is hurtful to women, to society at large. Your aggression is problematic. We used to call it strength. Now it's toxic. Right? We looked at Stoicism. We used to praise men for being stoic, for being in control, for making sure like, hey, yes, this may be one of the worst days of your life, but you still have to be a man. There's going to be time for you to get those feelings out. We acknowledge that you have the feelings, but now we call that being emotionally unavailable. The fact that you process things differently, that you don't let the news or the information that you just took in ruin you on the spot. Because, there's the burden of performance is usually on men. Hey, this still needs to get done. Hey, if you don't do this, people around you suffer. Your family, maybe your kids. Hey, you break down, we can't eat. Remember, this is coming from a time in which we had a very different society. The outlook was very different. When the man was a breadwinner, when the woman stayed home and raised the kids. So you didn't have an opportunity just to say, I'm not really feeling it. You go to work today. You take care of it. Please. I'll stay home and look after the kids. I'll make sure they get to school. I just need a couple of days to recuperate, recover. We didn't have that. The men had to be stoic. They had to understand, I need to, despite me feeling like this, I got to put it to the side. Another thing we changed. We used to look at men as leaders. They saw the vision, they saw the board, they saw the direction in which we were walking. And they said, okay, this is the most advantageous route to get there. Yes, we don't want to do it without your input because it's going to be a grueling death march, but we'll get there soon. A feminine touch is going to say, yeah, we could take a detour here. We could stay at a hotel. We can go at this famous diner. We can see the sights on the way. We'll get there maybe a little later, but we'll get there. Oh, it's not a terrible idea. But that's leadership. Leadership isn't unilaterally saying, hey, you got to do things my way. Unilaterally saying it's like, all right, this is destination. Let me set the destination. Let's talk about how we get there. We all agree this is where we want to go. I've seen the play. I've seen the board. I can't see the individual steps. I can't see the little accoutrements that make life here genuinely worth it. But what I do, I just relax. I let you take care of that. I forgot my little graphic. Right. I let you take care of that. You know, don't get, yes, electrostatic attraction. That's what we get. Weak. Back in the day, we like covalent bonds. So we redefined what leadership was. We call it you being in control. You're being too controlling. You're telling us what to do, and we don't like that. We hate that. So masculinity, again, takes another, in terms of this repackaging, takes another little L, takes another little cut. Now we look at provision, one of our favorite words that we hear today all the time, right? We took provision and we changed it into now you being, again, controlling. It's a power play. The person that feeds you is the person that can starve you. We took this idea, we catastrophized everything. We looked at it and said, it's the worst thing that could possibly ever happen to you. So you need to be careful. They're out here playing, they're out here doing this. They're going to control you monetarily, financially. But we still harken back. We still want throwbacks for those type of men in the past. That type of masculinity, but this was part of it. This was how it was originally packaged. Again, we're splicing things, we're taking out the center, we're twisting things around, we're putting it back together in our repackage of what masculinity means. Essentially, what we're trying to do, we're trying to keep something, instead of letting the heat from on the metal actually cool so we can have a finished solid sword and product. We're trying to keep it warm all the time, keep it malleable so we can keep changing it. As our needs change as a society, as women's needs change as society goes, as they adopt, as they change, I want you to change as well. And the best way I can do it is to antagonize you by attacking the identity, attacking the masculinity. So I change it. So now I say, that thing when you used to provide, when we used to actually get to stay home, raise the kids, we don't want to do that anymore. So those of you that still adhere to that, you're controlling. You're financially abusing me. Okay. So that's another thing that gets sort of chopped and screwed. Then we take protecting. Now that is toxic. You don't need the protection, or who would I need protection from? Men. So why would I look for a man to protect me from men? Or you don't even go out and challenge men. Protection is sometimes preventative. Men understand when the scenario is going bad. And the best type of prevention, the best type of protection is always going to be prevention. You see it happening, we exit. You see the building blocks, right, start to form up. You see the amino acids start grouping up. You say, oh, tryptophan is about to form. That's a W. I got to leave. We got to leave. Now we look at that and call that toxic. Now we look at that and say, this is somehow wrong. This is bad thing that men are saying. When I tell you, hey, you should not go out to the club, to that club with these people. Hey, that friend right there is not really a friend. You look at it and you say, well, you're trying to control who I talk to. No, we see signs that you don't see, just like you see signs we don't see. Now, when it comes down to looking and identifying threats, that's something men are constantly aware of. Do you want to say because men are constantly at war with men? Cool, that's fine. It doesn't change the fact that real ability exists. So you see it happening. You can identify it. You can say, let's take off of this. Right. Absolutely. Prevention is better than cure. My mom used to say that all the time when we were growing up. She's saying in terms of don't eat too much sugar so you get diabetes. And once you have diabetes, then trying to get that under control is too much work. So just don't get diabetes. We were 6 and 7 when she says stuff like that. So that's my mom. But yes, when you identify the threat, and instead of us now having to do a running around the town like it's Resident Evil, instead of we just trying to figure out and try to exit like it's a mission impossible and everything is going to hell and we're just trying to find the exit. I'm grabbing your hand, I'm trying to drag you along and you got the heels on. No, how about we're safely ensconced in our bed and we wake up in the morning, we see the news. Oh, there was a shooting there. Oh, that's what it looks like, right? Protect the home is difficult simply because you don't want to feel like a child. Absolutely. Absolutely. You don't want to feel like a child, but I'd rather you tell me this pouting, upset, looking like a child, but alive, not harmed, right? And sometimes we get out there and we're fine. Physically, nothing happens, but mentally, something did. Something was jarring. You witnessed something. I was driving back home yesterday. I'm on the highway, and I'm seeing, right? I'm not saying I'm Cyclops. I'm not saying I got the vision, but when you grew up driving in New York, you understand this could go bad very quickly, right? This can go bad very quickly. So I'm watching people drive, and I'm watching them in excess. Right? This is Texas highway. People driving in excess, just doing whatever the hell they want to do. And then I see the lights, the brake lights. Okay, it's time for us to start slowing down. Speed limit 75, people doing 95, people doing 100. First car ducks out to the right. They're in the left lane. He jumps into the middle lane. Car behind him, who was already on his bumper, slams into the first car. The next car slams into that one. Last car slams into that. They're all 2 feet in front of me. I slide right around. I'm just like, you could see these things happening. That is sometimes what protection looks like. You're just watching the board, you're watching the play develop, and you're saying, this is a bad position. This is a bad position to actually occupy. So when we look at this, and we look at the repackaging and the redefining of all of these, it's to what end? What is it supposed to serve? Because you leave men in a position where you don't know what's supposed to happen. You don't know how it's actually supposed to work. What is my role here now? Because if I adhere to the old standard, parts of that you resonate with, and then other parts you don't. Then there's other parts when you see that I'm being controlling, or I'm being I'm being a toxic male now. We don't have a steady foot to actually, a steady platform to stand on. So we're kind of left out there in the wind. What are we supposed to do? How are we supposed to manage it? How are we supposed to navigate it? We go to other men, and you have men of a different generation telling you the old way, the old standard, but that is a very different life. You saw your parents, both of them worked. You saw that existed. You saw it was, even when life was cheaper, when society was less expensive, it was still a necessity. It still happened. Okay, now we have us coming in here as millennials. And then to talk about, no, I want to be a stay-at-home wife. That came on the rise. Then you needed a man that was actually a little bit more traditional after being told not to be that traditional, after being told that that was toxic. We're left in this position and saying, well, okay, how do I actually be traditionally masculine with today's repackaging? At some point in time, it becomes like these two things can't occupy the same space at the same time, right? The initial D, yeah. Yeah, man, you gotta see that. It's not a mountain down in Japan, but you got it. When something happens, you get blamed for not being demanding in your ask. Yes. Or one of my other favorite ones is when you do the things, when you step up, you provide, you make the decisions, you make the life easier. When things get hectic and you say, or you're told, you never do anything for me, I don't think you care about me. And then you say, but look, I did these things. I never asked you to do those. I never asked you to do those. Now we're in this space where we're like, not that we're looking at it and we're trying to win, but we're trying to be acknowledged for walking this tightrope. But eventually, like any organism, right? When you keep having them walk this tightrope, when you keep them in this sense of none of this actually makes any sense, what we see, especially now, bring it back to men instead of different organisms, what you see eventually happens is very simple. It's a very, very simple thing, right? Men check out. They checked out. It became safer to take a step back and let the chips play. Let the play advance, right? Sometimes you got to let things happen and you got to let it come to you. For anyone that ever played any type of sports, especially football, You got to let the play advance. Sometimes you can see it, you can have the vision, but 2 or 3 things need to happen first, and then you need to be in that position where it seems like you're clairvoyant. Defensively anyway. But you got to let the play develop. You got to let it develop. And while we're being told to masculinity is being picked apart, and we're being told that it's this, that it's that it's this, and you have to adhere to something that seems to be ever changing, like a chimera. You're like, wait, but which side am I facing today? How much should I be intervening where you feel protected, but you don't feel like it's toxic? How do I support you without it now being financial abuse? How little do I support you without it being financial abuse? How much am I supposed to do for you where it still doesn't make you feel smothered, like you don't have autonomy with yourself? Well, all the time, ignoring anything about how I feel. But hearing, you're supposed to be open. You're supposed to be vulnerable. Look at how you're looking at a Rubik's Cube for the first time ever, and you're like, what the fuck is this thing? How am I supposed to navigate this? How am I supposed to make this work? I'm at a loss. How does any of this work? So in terms, rather than offend you, rather than jump on some list, some registry, rather than have my name smeared in some group, rather than be the next Me Too because I came up to you and I said, hey, I think you're beautiful. I would love to take you out to get to know you. And I didn't fit the way you liked. I didn't look the way you deemed appropriate. It's abuse. I'm SAing you. That's how wild we got with these conversations, these accusations. We can't keep allowing the goalposts to continuously move. Yeah. A good foundation. Yeah, we're gonna get to that, right? We're gonna get to that. We're working towards a nice lather, right? We're working towards a nice lather. But stay with me. I like it. I like the participation. I appreciate you. So when we don't have a clear vision, a clear road to walk, when you told us that you don't want to be bothered when you're going out, right? And you know what I'm saying when I say us. We told us, when you told, I'm talking about in general. This was the conversation piece that was going on. And while we constantly say on this channel that a lot of this is not reflective of the whole, the problem is when the whole is silent, when the rest of the majority of the people silent, it looks like you're condoning the behavior, you're condoning the message. So we have this Me Too thing going on, and a lot of women now are saying, well, I never said that. You never voiced your disapproval. If I'm watching my boy right here sitting next to me doing a line of coke and I say nothing, I don't move, right? I don't do anything, I'm like, yeah, I'm cool with the behavior. I see nothing wrong with it. Otherwise, I would have said, yo, what are you doing? We don't do that. When did this thing become a thing? No, he's looking at me. You want a line? And he's just expecting me to say, yeah, not right now. That's the norm. That's what we see when you are around your friends and you say, N-words ain't shit. And all of them are jumping up and down, but you're quiet. You're reading the Bible right there. Right? Exactly. It's complicit. You're reading the Bible. You're like, no, I don't believe in that. But when you're quiet, when you don't take that stand, what does it look like? Looks like, okay, everyone here believes in that very same thing. Okay, it's not much we can work with. So we look and group all these together and say, okay, that's what you believe. So when we were talking about stuff with Me Too, and we take the Aziz Ansari story, scenario that came out, he had a date with a woman. It went well. They went back to his place. And then she later on turned back and said, no, he did these things. And I don't know if she tried to revoke the consent, but she basically said, it was a Me Too. And people are reading the testimony that she provided and saying, this is a bad date. This is a bad date. Didn't pressure you to do anything. It was just a bad date. Okay. But we got caught up in that. And then you have some of us that actually look and we're wanting to listen. We don't want to be bad men. So we're looking at our behaviors and we're saying, okay, help me identify what was bad. And I'm looking at your examples that you're saying online. These are bad, these are bad, these are bad, these are bad. Okay. But bad started being, oh, he catcalled you. Okay, I don't really catcall, right? I'm not the construction worker, right? With piece of the belly showing. I'm not the plumber with the ass crack out, right? Okay, I'm not catcalling you. Okay, cool. But now it's coming up to you while you're in the gym. You're just trying to work out. You're just trying to get your workout in. Okay, the gas station. Okay, at the club, you're just out and trying to have a good time with your girls. Okay. So I don't really have a lane to occupy. So what do? We take a step back and say, the safest thing I can do is not to play the game. The safest thing I can do is wait for you to decide whether or not you actually are feeling me. We take a step back. And in taking a step back, a lot of men had the very same idea at the same time. Take that step back. I don't want to be, right? I've got a sister I adore. I don't want to be a man that is like these others that hurts her. I want to protect, I want to provide, but I don't know the lane in which to do that safely. Okay, it's your story. Let me take a step back. You tell it. You let us know what it is that you want from us, because that's how we've been repackaging, redefining masculinity since that time. You let us know what it means. Then we'll get in there and we'll see, what can we do? So, in men checking out in mass, they take that step back. They take that collective step back. And in taking a step back, you have this multi-generational effect happening where millennials are like, cool, right? We remember a time before the internet, so we can get down, we can entertain ourselves, we can find other things. We probably already have more hobbies than generations past. Cool. Or generations afterwards. We do stuff. Right? We're fine existing with our own thoughts. We've done it before. We've done it for formative years. We remember, payphones. We remember walking around with a bunch of quarters. We remember beepers. Yeah, we come from a different sort of planet. We'll be fine. We'll take a step back. Hey, that project, that hobby you were putting off? You got time now. Because while women are kind of in this state, if I don't have a girlfriend or I had a girlfriend and things went left because, she felt like I was the enemy. Okay, we broke up. That sucks. Let me now entertain myself. Let me find something else to do. A lot of men found hobbies. They find interest outside of chasing women. They realized how much time and effort they devoted into pursuing women. Some of us did. Right? This is not to say anything about the whole, right? Because you also had the very same dudes that were like, I don't give a shit about me too. I don't give a shit about you being uncomfortable. I'm still gonna holler. I'm still gonna be a piece of shit. I was born a piece of shit. I'll die a piece of shit. I'm gonna holler. I'm gonna make you uncomfortable. You at the gym, I'm hollering. You in the club, I'm hollering. You at a gas station, after you finish paying and pumping, I'm hollering. Right? It was never gonna stop. That's what you were left with. So now it further erodes the image you have of men. Right? We have to keep that keeps on pushing. Now it seems to you that the men at their forefront, they're not paying attention, they're not listening. And what do we see that happens quite so often? A man will do something bad to you. You have a bad experience with a man. And now it's all men. In your affect, in the way you move, in the way you talk, in the way you think about these things and put it out to the rest of us. We're all responsible for that bad encounter. In anything else, we look at that and we say, yeah, you need therapy. You need help letting go of that experience that happened to you, because it's not simple probability. It happened once, that means it's going to happen again. When you meet someone new, you're meeting someone new. But when you have this idea, this person shit, this is going to happen. I realized this when I was working for TSA. I was younger, working for TSA. I'm working, all right, I'm baggage. So this is back in the day. You used to walk up to me, with your check luggage, and you give it to me. I put it in the machine. You go off, or maybe you hang around. You can wait for me to check it. But from then on, I put it on the conveyor belt. You never see it. So, flying public is terrible. right? It's terrible. Who wants this invasion of privacy? Who, you don't want me to look through your unmentionables because you've got a 12-foot dildo, a 12-inch dildo in that thing. You don't want me seeing it. Oh, I understand. Plenty of stuff to be embarrassed about. Maybe not something as extreme as that, but your unmentionables, they're there, right? And I get to see it all. If this machine alerts, I got to go and check it. So when you're handing over this thing, you're upset. And, I'm young. I'm tired. I hate this job. I'm upset too. So you come, you give me attitude. Okay. But I recognize I don't want to get rid of this job. I don't want to be fired. So I don't give you the attitude back, but I feel it. And you see it when I grab your bag and I'm rough with it, but you go about your business. The next person comes. Same thing. Attitude. I give the attitude, rough with the bag. Real people being punished at the bags. We do it again and again and again. And then I'm looking and here comes another person smiling. But I'm keyed. I'm ready. I've got all this information and this trauma. The last 7 people gave me an attitude. I'm ready preemptively this time to have attitude. Here, this person is smiling on my face. So, oh, wow. I might be the problem, right? The last 7 is not indicative of this guy. Not at all. So now I have to change my entire affect. I have to realize every person I see is a new person. And whatever happened with that last person, that's not this person's issue. I would be doing them a disservice if I carry that forward and I say, hey, I got an attitude because people like you, not you, but people like you. Right? They're people too. So here's the attitude. You see that every time you go to DMV, you go to the post office, or shit, you go to TSA. You go to TSA, you go to gate agents. And they've got a line of people, and they came there 30 minutes before boarding. They got 16 people that needed service. Here you come, next person up. You got a smile on your face, and they have nothing but attitude. They look at you, and you look at them, not giving them attitude. You can see the confusion. You can see the confusement when they're like, I don't really know what to think. I don't know what to say. And you're just like, yeah, I just want to verify this. That's it. Nice day. It messes with them. They don't really understand that. You're right. Yes, government workers have a specific face. Yes, absolutely. But it's incumbent upon us understanding that, like, yo, that person's not at fault. So when you had that bad relationship with that dude, when you were 16, 17, and you carry it forward, these niggas ain't shit. I don't know you. I don't know you. I may not be shit, but for very different reasons have nothing to do with you. Men are guilty of the very same thing, right? Sandra broke his heart 3rd grade. I'll never trust a bitch. And he takes that forward. Now all of you are just like that. It's because we haven't processed our pain properly. We claim we're healed. We claim we journal. We play around, and then we keep on moving. We keep it pushing and think, I'm healed. You're not, right? You're not. I'm not. You're not. But we because now we've been single for such a long time, we're back on the dating market, and you say 2 things I don't like, and I'm triggered because the last shorty did that. And this must be the same thing because you're her, but you're not her. So this is what we see as men. When you are talking about your issues that has happened and you bring it forward to us, I think women do a great job of using that generalization of saying all men, all men. I could put together a compilation where it's all men until it's not, until it's not. It's not all men, but it's always a man. Okay. Okay. We can't run this hyperbolic sort of race because at the end of the day, what's going on, Norma? At the end of the day, what ends up happening? No one moves anything forward. If I do the same, if men did the same and they looked at their pain and their hurt, right? I got some pain and hurt in there. It was 7th grade. But you guys are now responsible for that. It seems stupid, right? It seems silly. Sometimes you have to shout something out. You have to call it out to make it seem like, yeah, okay, I understand you've been hurt. And I understand now this is defense, right? But this is a maladaptive behavior. This isn't real growth. You're losing the ability to what you should do. is be able to identify the things that you ignored back then. We all do that. Identify the things that you ignored and say, okay, listen, I'm going to withdraw from this. I think you might be a lovely person, but I think you might be hung up on a few things. I would love to pick this up in the future if we're both single. But for now, I think it'd be healthiest for us to stop doing this while we have a positive vision of each other. I'd love to see you again in a couple of months if anything changes for you. That's it. That's it. Rather than me ignore the red flags that just came out your mouth. We're at dinner. We're talking, and now you're telling me all about the evils of the last boyfriend. How he did this, and how he was a narcissist. He was a scum of earth. We haven't even got the appetizers yet. What am I going to do? What's my move? What's my play? Right? I'm going to make sure you have a good time. I'm going to make sure you have a good time. My brother's best friend, Drew, he used to tell us about this. You go to a barber. He F's up your line. He F's it up. You give him a big tip. You'll never see him again. We call it the big tip. I'm never going to see you again socially or a date. I'm never going to call you after this. But I'm going to give you a positive reflection of a black man. You're going to say, we're going to kiki, we will ha. But at the end of this, when you say, hey, I would like to see you again, I don't really think that's really in the cards for him. You can be confused, but what you can't do, lie. You can't tell the story honestly and say, he led me along. He strung me along. He did. No. None of that. Absolutely none of that. We're not doing any of that. In those quiet moments at 2:17 a.m., when you can't sleep, when you're tossing and you're turning, then you're tossing and turning again, turning and tossing, you're going to be like, damn, what the hell happened? What the hell? This is a moment for reflection. This is a moment to go back and say, did I screw something up? This is me. This is how I look at it. This is how I like to hold myself accountable as a man. This is how I like to move, rather than flip over the table, which arguably probably is more fun, tell you I'm going to the bathroom, dip out on you, block you, deuces, right? Maybe rev the car, rev the engine right in front of the establishment a couple of times, do a donut, do a couple of burnouts, and then drive off. That sounds better. Not healthier, but better, more entertaining. So we have to look at when men took that step back because we had this confusion, this confusement. I don't know what to do. Well, some of their attention turned towards making themselves better, self-improvement. Those are men that were always going to be on that path. That's my true belief. Those men, they were always going to be on that path. There was really nothing you could stop them to do that. It's probably just a matter of time. Either they were going to do it today, tomorrow, in the next year. They were always going to do that. There was always that drive, that burning desire in them to move forward. Some men went online to figure out the fuck's going on with women. Right? You found some people that found the red pill. They found these spaces. And at first, it's supplanting it and giving them an answer. Some of those early spaces were just about, hey, this is a little wonky right now. None of this really makes sense. Let's share our stories. But in the meantime, look at what you did wrong. In my last relationship, I failed to do this. I wasn't a leader. This is kind of why things started going on. I wasn't clear about what my expectations was. I gave up my day off to do all those awful things that I never wanted to do. I never put my foot down. I never actually cared about myself. I was a doormat. Therefore, things kind of slid out of control, bit by bit, inch by inch, to we're all effed with that same 12-inch dildo in TSA. So we're at this spot where you have this opportunity to look at yourself and say, how do I get better? How do I get better? When you look at a lot of male content, masculinity content, a lot of it is about self-improvement. A lot of it is about, right? Radical honesty. You suck. Everything is your fault. Everything that happened in your life is your fault. The good, the bad, the ugly, it's your fault. You want to change that? Change you. Change that fact. Go to the gym. Challenge yourself. Get used to challenging yourself in these ways. We took that thing that was sort of a pure idea. And then, of course, the grifters arrived and they said, hey, I know it's your fault, but it's also women's fault, right? Women ain't shit. They're terrible. They make bad decisions. You can't trust them. They shouldn't vote. They shouldn't. And then it peeled away people to that spot because, again, accountability is not something that is just intrinsic to men, not just intrinsic. No. Society tends to make us have to be more accountable for our decisions because there's no real safety net. But most people rather not be. I'm going to tell you right now why your life sucks, right? Why you live at home in mom's basement, why you were playing that PS4, right? I'm trying to date it properly. It was PS3. I think it was a PS4 back then. So this is why your life sucks. Not because you spend 9 hours on the PS4, not because you haven't, had a drink of water in 3 months. None of that. Not because you can't even smell yourself anymore. Maybe not to that extreme, but when you go try to talk to women, you're offensive. You don't know how to talk to women. You don't have any type of fashion sense. You haven't traveled. You're not really literate. But let me tell you why none of that is really your fault. It's a woman's fault. That scapegoating feels good. Just the same way we see in little boys and young boys, and sometimes teenagers and sometimes young men. Rather than feel the feels, I go right to anger because anger is smooth, right? Anger is suave. It feels good, right? It burns righteously. And everything you do right then and there, when you flip off, when you go off the handle, it's fine. It's fine. Because, well, all these people, they've earned it. They've deserved it. They've wronged you. So it's fine when you feel like this. It's fine when you move like this. It's everyone else's fault. It's absolutely everyone else's fault. It covers everything else that you're feeling. It's like you got high and you ran away from the problems for a bit. Then when it's time to walk that back, okay, here it is. Oh, I should confront what I did. I can get angry again. And sometimes you walk so far down a path, turning around, it becomes like, what's the point? This is who I am now. Every time you give into that road rage, that becomes part of you. That becomes who you are. Every time you give in to those intrusive thoughts, it's easier to walk down that path. You're hoeing the road. Right? Now someone comes. It's a well-worn path. It doesn't take much for you to walk it now. You think that guy that rips off his shirt and starts squaring up with people in the parking lot, you think he started like that? No. Bit by bit. Bit by bit. So now that is part of the definition of who he is. That's how a lot of these things happen. So you took a lot of people away from, I'm just coming here looking for answers, because when I look and try to do these things in society, even politics, even the media is telling me that I'm bad. I'm 13 years old. I've got impure thoughts. I'm bad. I'm just trying to play Roblox. I'm bad. Constantly hearing about toxic masculinity when boys barely got through puberty, barely entering puberty, it fucks with them. Men, grown men, constantly hearing that everything in society is your fault. There's no way for you to actually make good on everything else, despite you being one of those guys that objectively would be like, no, he's a good guy. He stays out the way. He doesn't do anything bad. He's not a super villain. He's not a henchman. He's not a C-tier villain. He's just a good guy. He just goes about doing what he can. He's not exceptionally handsome. He's not ugly. Middle management, not making a ton of money, but he's got a good heart. He's just trying to do the right thing. But life told him, if you do these things, you're supposed to get this. Now he doesn't know what the definition of anything is. We can't put our finger on what masculinity meant at the time. We just knew it was a bad word. From whenever you open up your phone to when you open up the TV and you saw political pundits talking about this, criticizing, vilifying, and leaving you saying men are terrible. Yet at the same time, you're telling men that you have to solve this issue. You have to solve this problem. So people went looking for solutions, and they found themselves in some of the fringe parts of the red pill, of manosphere, of some of these spaces. And that became the new definition. And the new definition became essentially anti-feminine, anti-feminist, anti-third rate feminist. And it felt good, just like the old anger. It felt good to push back against people that were calling you all sorts of shit and that you've never met. You've never adhered to any of those stereotypes that they ever told you, they said that you're doing. You've never been that man, but you're still judged like that man. It's like we're watching Minority Report, right? Pre-crime, right? They're telling you, yeah, you're thinking about this and you're going to do it, therefore you're bad. So let's get ahead of that. Let's just punish you now. And by punishing you, we think about you this way. We say things about you this way. And we seem to have this ability to constantly ignore the power of the tongue, of constantly hearing that you are failure, you need to do better, but you can't do better because you're a man. We can't expect you to actually think because you're a man. We can't expect you to be successful in life because you don't have a man behind you, don't have a woman behind you. You constantly hear these things. You think about how easy it is for you to think negative about something when you're constantly reinforced by it. You could have a great day, something bad happens, you focus on that. We have this negative bias. I read someone say it takes 9 good things to wipe out one bad thing. Now you're constantly hearing how bad you are. Now easily that drives you to a space online where they tell you this is who the real enemy is. And these people that, while they're simultaneously telling you that, they're also saying you also should donate to my stream. You should also buy my course. You want to be successful? This is what you got to do. You want to attract women? Of course you do. You want to attract women? Buy this course. Look at me, Lamborghini, Miami, South Beach. Look at me, girls around me. No. Don't look too deep about the quality, but just look at who's around me. I'm living that life that you want because no one else right now is giving you answers. Everyone else is giving you hate. Everyone else is telling you how awful you are, but I got the answers for you. Live like me, do the things like I do. You could have this life. I just need $15,000 for you for this course. Just $15,000. No, nothing, nothing crazy, right? Nothing crazy. I just need a bunch of money from you right now. Also, I need you to subscribe to the Discord. I need you to subscribe here. I need you to hit the Patreon. I need you to separate your money from you monthly at all times. And what I give you is what I've been giving you, just more concentrated. I tell you more about the things that I can't say on these platforms because these platforms will say, "Ooh, slow down. We like that you're big. We like that we can put advertisers on what you've got going on. But your messaging is getting a little bit running afoul of what we like to talk about. So we'll cut a deal with you. You keep it tame. You keep it here. And you can keep running your shows. You can keep having your millions of subscribers, your donations, your super chats. You can do all that. Just keep the line right here. Okay, no problem. You know, big media, big platform. Let's go over here. Let's create this separate space where we can get really nasty. Where we can get really nasty. And people will follow. People will separate themselves with their money. They'll go here, and they'll go there. It's the same thing when you look at men and you look at the how much men are subscribing to OnlyFans. Same thing. You just wanted someone to tell you it's going to be all right. Here's the real enemy. Here's the real reason why you don't have the success in your life that you deserve. Now, for those of you that know me, you know I'm real big on that word deserve. I'm real big on that word deserve. You deserve exactly what you've put in. You deserve whatever effort you've actually put into this damn thing. If you haven't, then life is that best algorithm. It's showing you exactly what your effort is worth. You may think you're doing the best. You may think you're spinning the whip. You may think you're doing all that. I'm grinding. I'm doing all of it. Life is telling you you're in the same place. I'm doing all the workouts. I'm doing all the CrossFit. Why do I look the same after 2 years? No change in the body. No change in body composition. No, but I'm grinding it out. When I used to help people in their programs, help people get in shape, diet, exercise. And he would come and tell me, we collect data. Because, you know, we've always been big data people. And you've got nothing changed. And then I look at you and say, well, let's see where you're lying. Right? It's been 4 weeks, no change. Let's see where you're lying. In fact, you gained weight. Let's see what happened. Oh, I adhered to the diet perfectly. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. We talked about your stress. We talked about your sleep. We talked about your water intake. We talked about your micro and your macronutrient intake. You say all these are good. Someone's lying. Something here is lying. I could never take that career, professionally, but it was all labor of love. I just want to see people like, hey, we demystify the calories, we demystify getting yourself in shape. Just repeated effort over time. But when now men are in these spaces, they're in these pockets, and then larger society eventually starts to pay attention and saying, what happened to the men? Where are the men? You start looking at stats, you start looking where it starts hurting you. Like, shit, economy's in tank. A lot of these men aren't coming out for these jobs. We've got a growing force, a group of men that are not in the labor force, not looking, right? Content to be home, chilling. I got an internet connection. I got a decent monitor. I'm good, right? I'm good. I got a mom that spoils me and says, hey, I need $59.99 for next game. In fact, make it $74.99. I get a couple of things, before launch. She's like, yeah, sure, whatever, right? He's a good kid. He's not on drugs. Yeah, I'm addicted to something else. I'm in these chats. I'm in these spaces where I'm cursing and vilifying women that I wish I had in my life, but I've never been further from having a healthy relationship. We don't know what masculinity is. When we took that step back and we found our pockets, we found other areas to entertain ourselves, to look for the answers. We just traded someone else defining it for us, someone else defining it for us over here. Maybe they went from nebulously, I don't know the gender, but now over here, it's men telling us what masculine is. And you can go from the Andrew Tate to the Fresh and Fits. You can go from the guys over there telling you about how bad masculinity is to guys talking about radical masculinity here. The ones that are saying, yo, you need to work out, you need to take radical accountability, to all ones over here saying, no, you need to be softer. You need to be more in tune with your femininity to define your masculinity. People were at odds and you don't have a definition. And that's kind of where we find ourselves now. Maybe we're not so much in the fringes. We've walked a little bit back towards center, but not by much. People can look and identify and say, okay, you may not like Andrew Tate, but the following exists for what reason? Why are people gravitating towards that? And just because people are flying that banner doesn't mean they completely wholeheartedly agree with everything that's being said. But we can look at, say, what is the best way to bring men sort of back? The issue is you can't define it. Society can't define it in a way that resonates with men, because society is always going to define something in its favor. Well, I want men to show up more because right now, what do you see? One of the biggest issues, women are saying there's not enough quality men around. So now we seem more concerned. Hey, what's going on with the men? We're concerned with it because we're looking at women saying, well, women are suffering because they're saying men aren't masculine enough. Men aren't men anymore. Well, what happened to the men? Do you remember the last decade and a half where you didn't really seem concerned with what happened to the men? Now you have reading scores for boys low as shit. You have men disillusioned, not participating in the labor force. When you have men looking and saying, I don't really see a purpose in marriage. When you have young men saying, no, I do want to get married, but their female counterparts are like, absolutely not. And you have these disaffected men that don't know where to go, who to talk to, what is right, how to define what is right, how to work towards that, but you still have the same vitriol being spewed towards them. Then you're curious, why are they not adhering to what I want them to do? Why are they not here listening? Why are they not here happily participating and letting me direct them and say, men do this? So you have the newer generation comes in and they do the same thing we did. They look for own pockets of their own entertainment. Now they're online. Now they're enjoying it. Now they're unabashedly online and just saying, no, I'm playing the game. I'm playing the game, or I'm trying to stream. I'm trying to make it. I'm trying to do this. They're not adhering to what you want from them anymore. The ability for you to routinely come and put your thumb on the scale and define masculinity is passing. You see the same thing when you hear women saying, yo, a real man would do this. People just like, I hear you. I'm not doing any of that, but I hear you. Right? I hear you. Don't care about that. You can't use the same techniques forever. Eventually, they lose the effectiveness. And a lot of the stuff was cutting to the bone for such a long time. It still is cutting to the bone. When you have people flat out laughing during Men's Mental Health Month, what are we supposed to think? What are we supposed to care? Simultaneously, you're asking men to still show up. You're asking men to say, how come you didn't pump my gas? How come I was at the side of the road and I had to change the tire? No man stopped. How come I had my stuff in the overhead bin? No man, stopped to help me. Why should they? That's where men are. When you've beaten a dog so much, now, okay, you beat me again. I've become used to this level of existence. Okay, whatever. Even if I play the game well and I make it, and you look and say, man, this is great, we get married, and then you tell us you're not happy, and we're looking at the divorce rate saying, okay, even that is a gamble. Even that may not turn around and actually give me any type of security. If it does not matter that I do everything right to my best of my ability, and I'm not going to be a perfect husband, completely understand that. But because women on TikTok said your best life is ahead of you, drop this dude, drop this fool. And you're like, yeah, yeah, imagine how dope my life would be if he was not here. And you leave. And men are looking like, I thought we were all in. But Chip's all in. It said call, right? But we never want to see each other's hand. We wanted this game to continue forever. But you said you flipped the cards over. Now we got to break apart everything that we built. We had no intention of doing anything like that. Even when you take that step back, and men are still saying, I still want that, but here, I know, I'll just get a prenup. Now you shame the man out of the prenup. Well, we can't get married unless if you have me sign this, then we're never going to get married. And then he caves because, again, he doesn't have a firm definition of masculinity. He doesn't look and say, before I pour into your cup, my cup has to be full. If I'm unhappy, I can't predicate this entire relationship on making you happy. Can't. The best I can do is take care of myself for you and vice versa. So if this is an important thing to me, but you make light of it, you gaslight me with it, you shame me into it, this is a good indication of we'll get to other things in our life together that we're maybe intractable about. And if this is the way we end up trying to solve these things, it's good that we have this breakdown right here and now, so we can simply part ways. It turns out, weirdly enough, women actually like a man with a spine. You wouldn't really get that. You really want to get that if you grew up in the times that we grew up in. It's like, no, happy wife, happy life, which means shrink yourself to make this happen. Fit yourself to make. You have to be Play-Doh to make these things happen. So we find ourselves in this point in time now where we have to redefine what masculinity is, right? And part of that definition absolutely has to take into account your own happiness. You cannot accept that to sacrifice is to find yourself in some sort of happy, advantageous position. I'm going to go without, I'm going to do with less. I'm going to make sure the rest of the world knows of my sacrifice. Therefore, she'll honor me. We don't have that society anymore. We don't have that society anymore. You going down to your last dollar does not engender you any more so than telling someone, hey, this is as much as I can do to help you. Anything after that, I have to take a step back. There's other ways I could provide. There's other ways I could protect. But it can't always be just because you desire of, hey, my friends went to Tulum, so I want to go to Tulum. I pull out a map and say, point to Tulum. Can't find it. Can't find it. But this is why I'm saying no. It's not in the budget. It's not what we planned for. We just can't keep doing whatever else feels good because it feels good. Eventually, that way leads right down to the same road we know. You're in your 40s and now you're like, this doesn't feel good anymore. I'm out. And I have to deal with that. It's not as if you're saying, okay, we're in my 40s, this, it's not working for me. Not that you're bad, not that the house ain't bad, kids, but let me leave gracefully. I'm deciding I'm breaking this up. Let me leave gracefully. Not now I gotta take you, now I gotta make you out to be the villain, the narcissist, the sociopath, right? The abuser, the financial abuser, the verbal abuser, the abuser. I gotta make you out to be the worst thing on the face of the earth in order to feel good about me breaking this entire thing up. And I go and live my life. We don't have a just sort of system in that place. But part of that issue is we can't look for the justice. We can't look for someone to come and solve the issue for us. We have to be the one that first and says, okay, what is it that's important to us? Okay? We look at the things that were repackaged as toxic. Okay? We looked at discipline. Right? They try to call that aggression. You look at the discipline and you look at Stoicism and say, I got to do the same thing, regardless of how I feel. I got to do this. You may call it boring. Right? You may make all the fun of you want of that, but this is the thing that gets us to the goal. This is the thing that starts to separate us in our mid-20s, 30s. By mid-30s, that separation is a gulf. You can't catch someone that's done 10 years of work by having a couple of good years. You can't. It's one of the things I realized. It's almost 9 months ago. Work with a whole bunch of new people, whole new crew, and they're coming and they're looking and they're listening to history of stuff that I've accomplished, stuff I've done. They have a good day and they want to look at me in my face and say, "What I've done can't beat 10 years of hard work. Can't. My worst day is equivalent to your very best day. My work ethic is equivalent to you having a stellar week. That's a beautiful function of time." So discipline can't be a thing that we look at and we say, it just makes you boring because you say, hey guys, I got to cut out, I got to get up early in the morning to do my workout, to do a thing I already had planned. No, but don't do that. We're having such a good time. Hey, listen, I'll catch up with you guys another time. This is important to me. You sticking to what you believe in and adhering to that is for you. Think about it the same way we talked about Vegeta's pride. Someone else does not get to come into your life, tell you, hey, I'm attracted to the things that you've built, the person that you are, and then try to fundamentally start changing those things. These things are key to you. That discipline is what has made you the success that you are, or that has transformed your body from what it was to what it is now. That discipline. That boring over and over again discipline. Someone doesn't get to come in and say, you need to cut that. Same thing when we're looking at Stoicism. Now you want to say, hey, you're emotionally unintelligent. Let me give you some, some news. Emotionally unavailable, excuse me. Most people are there. Hey, most people are there. We give this bias. Kathleen, what's going on? We give this bias right now to women because we say, well, you're more emotional. It doesn't mean the same thing as being emotionally intelligent. You're in school. You graduate. I graduate. Who's more intelligent? Darla, what's going on? Who's more intelligent? You don't really know. But we both have degrees. You simply existed in a thing at the same time I existed in a thing. Emotional intelligence starts to come into play later on in saying how you actually develop, how you actually are maybe in tune with your emotion. Your emotion is not going to look the same. Right? My emotion is not going to look the same as a woman's. What my emotional intelligence is always going to present itself masculine. It's usually going to present itself under discipline. And more importantly, it's always going to be in a stoic framework. So because you're yelling, screaming at me, hey, we're arguing, you're yelling, screaming at me, and I'm replying in calm motion. That's one thing. If you guys know me in real life and we've had discussions like that, I get less, you see less and less emotional expression from me as things get more and more heated. It's not a thing where I'm trying to be cold to you. I'm trying to make sure what I'm saying is cased in logic. It's not cased in, I feel this way and I want to hurt you because I feel bad. No, it's cased in logic. So now I can hear what you're actually saying. Sometimes so I can hear what you're saying, what's being said, underline that. So you give me examples of all the times that I failed you and I didn't do this, I didn't do this. You're questioning whether or not I actually care about you. What are you talking about right now? If now I tell you, I give you examples, but hey, but I did this from this state and this state and this state. None of that seems to matter in what you're saying because you're not questioning that these things existed. You're talking about how you feel right now. I can't suss that out if I too am emotionally going back and forth with you. I can't suss out that what you're telling me right now is more, I wish you made more time for me. I can't suss it out because now you're telling me that I never do anything for you. And I'm feeling offended because y'all pay the bills here. I take care of this. I make sure this is this. We're not really having an emotionally intelligent conversation. We default and we say women are more emotionally intelligent because men have done a bang up job of not, right? Even walking towards that path. But by default, both parties have to do work to get there. Maybe you have to do less work because you don't have to suss out and find emotions. They're closer to the surface. Men have to go through sometimes the shame of being emotional, of saying, hey, dad, I love you. That is difficult for a lot of men, especially millennial men that grew up under a certain wavelength. Hey, you don't really say these things. Hey, you don't really even hug. This is part of the issue. But that doesn't mean that when men become emotionally viable, emotionally intelligent, healed, healthy, that it looks feminine. It should still look stoic. Just the same way you're screaming, hooping, hollering in front of my face, but I'm still calm. I may be a turbulent storm inside, but outwardly presenting, it's calm. As angry as you are, as offended as you are, as bothered as you are, I never want you to feel like you're not safe. Physically, like you're not safe with me. So when I see people, stories, videos of young boys screaming, yelling, punching the wall, yeah, this is a sign of the emotional immaturity. This is a sign of the anger being the first thing that gets in there. It's a sign of you not being in tune, probably because you don't have a good definition what masculinity is. A lot of that is because, yeah, you don't have examples of that. You didn't grow up around with it. You didn't see it. You didn't find this channel, right? You didn't find Unlicensed on Thursdays, right? Shameless plug. You didn't see any of this. But you found it now, right? So now you get to rethink some things. Maybe you need professional help to guide you, put you on this path. Maybe you need to have a better class of male friends around you that tells you, that shows you, oh, this isn't the way to be. You get to define what it means for you. You get to decide, hey, when they sell you, they see you being stoic and they think you're somehow emotionally unavailable. You know the difference. You know you feel the feels. You just make sure it's when you decide, when you feel safe to express those from whomever deserves it. You'll see a lot of times where people, I'm not just going to put this on women, people will purposely antagonize you. People will purposely try to get you on the back foot to take advantage of you because emotionally you're not set, you're not regulated. Once I get you there, you start making mistakes, unforced errors. And I'm willing and waiting to take advantage of those, especially in business. I want you upset. Now you may be susceptible to a bad deal, to being overly aggressive, to tanking something. You don't know. People are playing chess with your emotions, but you don't have any pride like Vegeta to say, yeah, I'm good on that. I'm good on that. But the third way I would like to look about defining masculinity is the accountability, but not in the same sense we always talk about it. That you're accountable, being accountable is like anything around you that goes wrong is your fault. Even the way she treated you, the way she spoke to you, the way something happened at work, the road rage, all that. Being accountable right now, the way we define it as men, it's this radical accountability. Like it's all your fault. No, you're responsible for what you believe, what you think, how you move, your outwardly expression, your response to any type of stimulus. When someone comes and doesn't say hi to you, you flip out. Yeah, you need to be accountable for that. When someone comes yelling and screaming at you because you cut them off, Inadvertently, you apologize, they still hooping, hollering, screaming. That's not your problem. That's not something for you to go out and fix. When people come to you with problems that have nothing to do with you, and then you refuse to help, you don't have to be accountable for how they feel, how they now change, how they think about you. You think about how many things, again, that you end up doing that you had no business, no desire to ever do. But you did them because they're telling you, well, this man's supposed to do this. Man's supposed to take over these problems. When they define things for you, when society defines things for you, when you let women define things for you, at the very last part of this, when they define your masculinity, at the very last, whatever's left over, the remainder, and it's minuscule, that is what's usually left for you to be happy, for you to take care of yourself. You've got so many other avenues jutting off here and here, telling you, do this and you're going to feel better about yourself because this is what a real man does. Take care of your family, take care of your loved ones, take care of the community, take care of other kids that aren't even yours. Make sure you succeed at work. Make sure you climb the ladder. Make sure they know that you are the man. At no point in time does everyone say, are you okay? The expectation for you to perform, the expectation for you to be everything to everyone else, but it never starts and says, hey, are you all right? What things do you need to feel grounded, to feel like you have a worthwhile existence on this planet? We don't say that. We just let you rock. We just say, I hope it works out. I hope it works out. And I go to the next drone. I go to the next man. I say the same thing and the same thing and the same thing. And now we have a crisis. Now we don't know who we are, what we're supposed to do, what our purpose or position on this planet is. But we're quietly waiting for someone to come and tell us. And then the next messaging that comes turns out it's not really beneficial for all of us. Most of us. You have to go start about defining what it means for you. Then getting around other men that believe the same thing or similarly. This is why you start now testing your theories out in the real world. Iron sharpens iron. You have an idea, this makes sense to you, go out there and test it. Talk to your brothers about it. See if it actually makes sense. And with people that can be honest with you. Not with people that are just going to tell you what you want to hear or say, hush, the Knicks are on. That's not the way you want to actually go about this. You want to have a positive influence on the people around you, but you also want your enemies to know you will line up and crush them. Don't let people tell you that aggression is bad when that aggression is actually fueled properly. Don't let people tell you that your pride cometh before the fall, but the pride is the thing that prevents people from taking advantage of you. You need to learn how to channel these things appropriately. You get to decide how appropriate. Don't go too wild. Don't go too wild, because then society will come and say, I got to lock you up for that. Okay? I got to, my boy, I got to lock you up for that. You want to do these things in reason. You want to do these things with the idea you want to make anyone related to you proud. You want to make maybe your son, your daughter, you want to make them proud of how you handle yourself. You want people, your name to be synonymous with something good. Relentless. That's my favorite. That's how my mom describes it. She knows, if he attacks something, if he identifies this is something he wants to do, he's not going to stop. He's absolutely not going to stop. Could I be a supervillain? Sure. Absolutely. But we channel this right in the proper ways, in the ways of trying to improve things bit by bit, inch by inch. Hey, change that, tweak that, improve that. It just so happens a lot of those ends up being, 20 minutes before the live stream is supposed to start. So we usually end up a little late when we start. But yeah, these things have become important to me. I want to be known for someone that said, he had that, he tackled it, and he did it at this such a high level degree. So when it's time to come back and make improvements, the bar is already raised. The bar is already raised. The most important thing here that I want to stress, when it comes down to defining masculinity for us, you have to do. You can't let people that aren't the right gender tell you. You can't let people that have never grown up with their father tell you what it means. People are telling you what it is to take advantage of you, not for your benefit. They assume this is good for you. A real man is going to pay all the bills. According to whom? According to whom? Which real man descended down from heavens and said, this is the law? Real men pay all the bills. In an increasingly expensive society, yeah, real men pay all the bills. Even if we let that go and we say that's true, he's going to do it for who? Someone he just met, or someone that's, pays fealty to him, that says, oh, this is my man, this is my husband. Which one? Hey, because I met you and you want your hair done, but a real man would do that. So I'm supposed to cave and do that. If we could actually look at data, because a lot of times when we hear, and sometimes people just simply tell themselves when they tell their stories, a lot of those stories say, I had a man, my ex used to pay all the bills, do all this thing, yada, yada, Birkin, all the things. But you're not with him. Doing all those things was not enough to actually make you stay with him. It was enough to make you to actually use him, right? That's the case. Shout out to you, Omar, subscribing. Appreciate that. That's not actually how you're supposed to move as a man. That you let the next woman, because she's fine, right? Because she's fine. I understand it. Hips don't lie, right? You like the curves, you like all that. Fat in the right places. That doesn't mean she now gets to tell you what being a man is. If she's not in line, she doesn't dig with who you are, how you hold yourself, and you're proud of yourself, it's not for you. It's not for you. Stoically go about and say, hey, thanks for entertaining me for a bit, but it looks like we're not really on the same, wavelength. We're not really vibing. Right? Don't get me wrong. Attraction is there. Right? And I'm sure you're going to find someone that's going to be absolutely lovely too, more in line with what you want. I'm looking for something different. And you go. You don't have the conversations. You don't let someone come and try to tell you why they're a good match for you. I'm trying to convince you why you should be with me. No, it's not working. Hey, babe, it's not working. Don't be afraid of cutting people off. Don't be afraid of breaking up things. One of the things they like to say about men is like, we'll stay in it longer. We won't officially be the ones that end stuff. Let's end stuff. Let's end stuff when stuff is not aligned. Not being afraid of bringing things up and saying, hey, I've noticed a couple of things for the last couple of weeks. This is really feeling off. One of the things that we do as men, we want to have evidence, right? We want to have concrete proof of a thing. It could be something simple like saying, hey, I don't feel like you appreciate what I do. Now I got to go in and take down notes and dates to have concrete evidence so I come to you, because the first thing we know we're going to hear is a denial. It's fine. If you coming there and saying, as your partner, I'm telling you how I'm experiencing you, and this is lacking, and this is important enough for me to bring to you, because if I can't get this, we can't get this right, we can't do anything else together. I would love to solve this with you. I'm here with it, but I'm never going to tell you that I'm here forever. I understand that there's ways I can not show up and fail you. There's ways you can not show up and failing me right now. We have the conversation. If someone at that point wants to blow up, wants to be angry, wants to throw stuff in your face, hey, cool, don't worry about it. You want to pack your bags or should I? Hey, which way is it? You don't have to adhere to the way society is telling you to be. If something is not working, it's not feeling your spirit, you don't need to go and chase down. Well, I had to catch her cheating. I hired the private eye. I followed her. I put the recorder in her car. No, no, you don't have to do that. You have the conversation. You say, this is what's happening. This is a problem. If people don't want to solve that, it's fine. I wish you luck. This is the benefit about being a man. This is a benefit about being someone that has done the work, that understands their value, that understands their place. And it's very easy. It's very easy, especially for men, with what you do to fall to the back burner. Your significant other, she doesn't know The 1st and the 15th hold no significance to her. You pay that bill. You pay the rent. You pay the mortgage. No significance to her whatsoever. She's not biting her nails at the end of the month, right? As the month turns and starts, talking with the twos, right? Oh, it's the 22nd, it's the 29th. She's not worried about that. Just another day to her. Well, that lack of worry is because you consistently have done a thing, but you don't consistently get praise for it. This is a natural human condition. Things that people constantly do fall to the background. They become white noise. You don't hear it anymore. Just like if you live in the city, the sirens, right? The noise, background noise. You don't have to sit there and identify and call out every time. It's just part of what our brain does. But when you're telling your partner, I don't feel appreciated, you don't have to now list all the things that you do. All the things. Because anyone with the brain and everyone obvious, there, you guys are in a relationship together, she can see it. She knows it. There's a reason why it's not happening. You bring it to her point. You bring it to her attention. But you have to have the boundaries. I think part of us with being masculine is having those established boundaries and saying, this isn't okay. You can be aggressive with it. I don't recommend it. Hey, just because I never want someone to have that sort of ability to get me out of pocket. That's my pride talking. Again, it's weaponized pride in the right direction. You don't, who are you to get me out of pocket? Who are you to throw words at me and all of a sudden I'm a raving lunatic? I'm chasing you with my car down blocks, down alleyways because you cut me off and I'm off my mind. No. Go ahead. Have a good day. Hey, I can't let you move me like that because I love myself too much. That's how I look at it. That's how I try to redefine my masculinity. So when I see all this content telling me how awful I am as a man, how shitty, how terrible, all this, a real man does this. Men with money don't mind spending on. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I absolutely don't want to be taken advantage of. I have money. I don't want to be taken advantage of. I can put you up. You can be a stay-at-home girlfriend, wife, fiance, right? Something. I could do that. I don't want to be taken advantage of. No one does. No one signs up and says, I've got so much money, you could just take advantage of me. No. We let people define who we are. We don't even raise a finger. We don't raise a finger. We just say, all you have to do is say, hey, I'm glad you believe that, right? That's it. Go about your business. I'm not in the comment section. I'm not going back and forth with you. I'm not trying to convince you otherwise. I believe your mind is already made up. I'm just not part of this. Part about being masculine is being ready to say goodbye. That should be part and parcel of the entire thing. Be ready to say goodbye. And with that, see you guys on the next Unlicensed, hopefully next Thursday. But we got Subscriber Sundays coming up. So if you are around, you should definitely join us in that discussion. More laughs, more of a show, but we hopefully all walk out learning a little something.
I did not know I held so much goodness. All seems beautiful to me.